Good morning and welcome to our RSEA of Louisiana conversation today. We're going to be talking about protecting your nest egg. We'll do some introductions here in just a moment, but while we have several people signing in, just a couple of housekeeping details. You'll notice that all participants are in a listen-only mode. And what that means is if you have a question about something we talk about today, feel free to drop it into Q&A. And some of our panelists can answer that. Some of our co-hosts can answer that for you. And if it's a question that may be specific to just your situation, we'll probably take that offline and respond back to you at a later date. If you'll put it in Q&A, it records a transcript in your email. We can respond back to you. If it's something that the whole group could benefit from the question, we'll probably pause the conversation along the way and talk just about that specific question, because we do have a lot of topics to talk about today. You'll also notice there's a QR code down in the bottom right-hand corner. If you'll make your smartphone handy, we're going to use that QR code later today to talk about some of the topics and ways that you can get more information about that. We do record all of these sessions and we'll make them available through a link on the RSEA website here very soon. That way you can take advantage of watching this over again with your spouse, with some loved ones, or just if you want to catch up on it as well. So grab a pen and paper today. We're going to give you some things to talk about, things to think about, and just some ideas as we go on through here. But I do want to introduce to you today your Executive Director of RSEA. I'm going to ask him to unmute himself, and that's Jimmy Anthony. And Jimmy, I know there's been a lot of stuff going on in Louisiana at RSEA. Why don't you share a little bit about the association and then share some of these pictures, because you got a lot of good things going on.
Yeah, thank you, John. For those of you that don't know what RSEA is, it stands for Retired State Employees Association. We work tirelessly for all retirees, state retirees, whether they're retired now or they'll be retired whenever they get through working. So we are working tirelessly for all state employees, not just the ones that are currently retired. What you see on the top left there is the RSEA Foundation awarded a scholarship to a member's grandchild. The member is Jeanette Martin Hodge, and she nominated Ethan Desautel for the scholarship. Ethan is from Avoyelles Parish. He graduated in May, and he is now attending LSU and hopes to study orthopedics. So that $1,000 we gave him is going to help him get his degree. Over to the right, after a 2-year hiatus, we had our statewide convention, and people had a great time there. They learned a lot of good information from lasers, OGB, and some other vendors that were there. What you see in the middle there is Zemil Klutar. She won the grand prize, which was a $100 spa from the casino, an overnight stay for free, and a $50 meal voucher. And you can tell she's really happy. She told me she had never won anything in her life. Well, she can never say that again. Down on the bottom left, we were proud to work with Lasers and Senator Ed Price to introduce a supplemental check for state employees. Been 6 years since state employees had any kind of adjustment. So we got that 13th check pushed through the legislature, not one single vote to the contrary. And the governor was so kind to let us show up and get our picture taken with him when he signed that bill. Down on the bottom right at our convention, we honored Alan L. Reynolds. If y'all remember, some of you probably can, Alan Reynolds was the director of civil service for many years. He recently passed away, but after he retired, he got involved with RSEA board and served on the board for many years. In fact, he was actually executive director for a few years prior to him going back on the board, and he served for a long time until his death as our secretary treasurer. He was a great man, and we would like to honor those folks who have made a significant contribution to retired state employees. And Alan certainly was deserving of that award. And that you see his wife holding his plaque and his family there. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Jimmy. Again, what RSEA does on your behalf, not only for retirees, but active employees and for future possible employees of the state of Louisiana is tremendous. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through here. Just want to do a couple of quick things real quick. My name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors. I live a little bit north of Houston with my wife, who's a public school teacher. I am the product of a public employee household. My grandfather, my mother, and my aunt all work for the Texas Highway Department. And so I appreciate what you do for the folks of Louisiana and to take care of, or what you did in your career to take care of the citizens of Louisiana. So I appreciate being able to be with you today. I've spent most of my career in the classroom helping educators understand what their retirement years are like. And so it's important for us, and I'll share a little bit more about AMBA in just a moment as we go in through our conversation. But just real quickly, RSEA of Louisiana has multiple facets to how they work and serve you as an employee and a retiree of the state of Louisiana. First of all, they're out there to watch out over your pension, over lasers and all that, help to preserve any type of benefits you may have earned or that you still have as an active employee, any type of cost of living adjustments or 13th checks or whatever those could be, any type of pay raises. RSEA is out there fighting on your behalf for that. And then, as Jimmy mentioned, we're back together after so many years of COVID and all that. We're getting back together, staying connected to those people that maybe you worked with when you were active in the state, or now that you're retired, with local units and chapters and conventions and things like that. And then offering you benefits, discounts, things that you can't get that maybe you left behind whenever you left the state. You can join RSEA. If you're not a member of RSEA, you can join for only $19 a year. Go out to rseala.org and you can take a look at how to join out there. We'll also give you some information how you can join a little bit later and share with you what those benefits are of being a member of RSEA. One of those benefits is the Passport program. It's the My AMBA Discounts program powered by Passport. It's a free benefit for RSEA members. It's dining, shopping, travel, whether you're traveling just in Louisiana, across the country, or across the world. This benefit is free for you. Just this past year, people who use Passport saved over $111,000. If you're a member of RSEA, you get this free as part of your benefits. If you're not a member and would like to get this benefit for free, again, but join RSEA for only $19 and you can get this Passport membership. We'll show you how to get all connected with that as well. But this is another great free benefit for members of RSEA. A little bit about AMBA, Association Member Benefits Advisors, is over 40 years old. We are based out of Austin, Texas. We represent roughly 75 client associations all across the country, very similar to RSEA of Louisiana. These are retired state employees, active state employees, retired and active educators, firefighters, police officers, those of you who are public servants, and thank you for what you do. We have two great leaders in the state of Louisiana. Caitlin Tidwell lives in Beau Bridge, and then Sam Palett is down in New Orleans. They take care of the entire state and RSEA members as well. So I would encourage you, if you hear from them, take a listen, take their call, and be willing to get them out to see you as well. Some of the advantages of having RSEA and AMBA together is it can kind of fill those gaps that weren't covered by your state benefits, whether you're an active employee or whether you're a retired employee. They're portable if you leave the state after retirement, or if you leave state employment and go somewhere else, that type of thing. You can take those with you wherever you go. Also, you can extend your benefits to family members that may have aged out of your benefits. Say you've got sons or daughters that have turned 26 and are no longer eligible for your state benefits. You can get those benefits through AMBA and through RSEA if you're a member there. And then we also see several state employees that will retire early because of their pension benefits, and they'll go work a second job somewhere else, but they're still responsible for care of their adult, not only their adult children, but their loved ones, their parents, their aging parents, and the proper benefits on those aging parents can prevent you from having to take additional time off of your work to take care of a loved one. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about today, some of these benefits, and we're going to talk about really protecting your nest egg. But before we jump into this, I want to launch a quick poll and just want to kind of find out from the 100+ that are on here, kind of what your biggest fear is. And this is a single choice anonymous poll. If you'll let us know there, just click what your biggest fear is when it comes to your savings, that nest egg savings, whether it's inflation, this crazy stock market we're seeing right now, outliving your savings, or an expensive medical issue. What's your biggest fear there? So we've got about a third of us that have done this. And so we're over half now. So lots of folks lighting up the keyboard. We appreciate that. We'll end the poll here in about 15 seconds or so. Make sure everybody has a chance to click in. That way you can weigh in here and tell us what your biggest fear is when it comes to your nest egg savings. All right, we're gonna make last call here. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's share the results here. So we've got it split across the board. The biggest group, almost 40% of us, that's our biggest fear, is outliving our savings. And we're going to talk about that near the end of the conversation today, because that's a lot of people's fears, is outliving their savings out there, and then followed up by inflation or an expensive medical issue. And then maybe you're not as concerned about this gyrating stock market because you have a pension plan, which is really great benefit of being a state employee. So let's talk about those things as we jump through our conversation today. So I appreciate you giving us that. It will help myself and my co-host, Chris Gluck, also help you answer some questions and kind of direct our conversation as we go through here today. Again, if you've got questions, feel free to put it into Q&A. That way we can respond to you, or we can stop the conversation and answer those questions. If you joined us late, we are recording this session and we'll make it available on the RSEA website in the near future. All right. Usually when you talk about retirement, whether you're an active state employee or if you're already retired, there are 3 main components of a stable retirement income. That's pension and Social Security and other savings. Well, just like teachers in Texas, you got kind of an issue in Louisiana with the Social Security issue, with the windfall elimination provision, the government pension offset issues. That third leg on your stool of Social Security is a little bit wobbly. So we really have to pay attention, especially in those states where this is an issue, to make sure that the other 2 legs, your pension and your other savings, are much more stable, so that you can have a stable retirement as you go in through your retirement years. Because a lot of us will work for a certain period of time. We may be retired longer than we work based on how the pension rules, things like that, happen in the state. So, well, what makes up a nest egg? Let's look at first what doesn't make up a nest egg. If you are actively drawing your pension, that is not your nest egg. That is something that the state's going to provide for you. That's what RSEA of Louisiana does to make sure that that is funded properly, cost of living adjustments, things like that. Or if you're an active employee, your pension is not your nest egg. If you're an active employee, lasers, your 401A plan, is not part of your nest egg as long as you're active. That's something that you can contribute to, that you can help grow, that type of thing. Your spouse's Social Security is not your nest egg, nor is that mattress money, that emergency money that whenever a hurricane comes through or a medical issue or whatever car breaks down, that little money we need to pull from to take care of that. Or a structured settlement like an insurance claim where you're getting paid out over a period of time. Those things are not your retirement nest egg. What we're going to talk about today are those things that make up your nest egg. A 403B, 401k plan for retirees, your lasers program, your 401A out there, any type of IRA or cash balance pension plan that you may have from a former employee or a current employee that your employer that you're going to take whenever you leave, CDs, savings, inheritances, things like that. That's your retirement nest egg. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to use for the basis of our conversation an article that I read in USA Today several years ago about the 5 major threats to your nest egg. And in no particular order, those 5 major threats are taking care of elderly parents, whether it is you as the elderly parent or you still have parents that are living that you could be responsible for, the death of a spouse without life insurance, and that can be a big deal in the state of Louisiana for state retirees because of the government pension offset issue, things like that. Then boomerang children, we're going to talk about that, a medical crisis, and then overexposure to the stock market as we age. Those are the 5 biggest threats that you could have in your retirement to your nest egg, those things that you've saved up to make your retirement going easier. So we're going to walk through and address each one of those 5 kind of give you some stats around it, and then give you just a couple of quick hit possible solutions. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time dwelling on any one of those, but if you do have a question, feel free to drop it into chat, preferably into Q&A. But the number one thing, or one of the top 5 threats to your nest egg, is taking care of elderly parents. This is because most people don't have any type of long-term care plan after they retire, because they didn't think they'd ever need it. They think Medicare pays for it, which Medicare doesn't do that. But what the bottom line is, about 70% of us, once we reach age 65, are going to need some form of extended care in our lifetime. That extended care could be 3 or 4 months due to a fall, broke a hip, something like that. Or it could be for the rest of their life as a result of Alzheimer's, dementia, arthritis, heart disease, something like that. The problem is 73% of all long-term care is provided in your home by an informal caregiver who receives no compensation. And really what that's basically saying is, if we need care, a son or a daughter-in-law are going to have to take off from their job and take care of me while I'm at home. And that can do a bunch of different things generationally. First and foremost, it can take your loved one out of their career that they provide for their family, for college expenses, for paying the bills, things like that. Or it can cause, that person maybe that works for the state, or they're a teacher, and their pension gets shorted because they've got to quit their job early. So it can impact them, and it impacts women far greater than men. Over $300,000 of impact to salary for a female that has to take time away from their job to take care of a loved one. It can impact generations as well. The stress that comes on with taking care of a loved one is great. It can impact family relationships. It can impact children and grandchildren. So there's a huge financial impact, but there's an even bigger emotional impact when it comes to taking care of elderly parents without a plan. The good news is there are some solutions. There are long-term care plans that are out there that, depending upon your age and your health condition, is a great way to make sure that you've got peace of mind that you can be taken care of where you want to be taken care of, when you want to be taken care of, and by whom you want to be taken care of. There are some plans that even give you lump sums of money that you could pay a loved one to take care of you, depending upon your conditions and things like that. There's some home health plans. If you don't want to go to a nursing home, be taken care of at home. Some short-term plans. If you have just a fall or something like that, they give you money to be taken care of without having to crack and scramble your nest egg out there. And then a lot of people will do a kind of a hybrid. They'll take some personal assets along with one of those things above, like long-term care or home health care. What we usually see, and we see this a lot of times, especially in rural parts of Louisiana and Texas, where most of the family wealth, for lack of a better term, is tied up in farmland or in some type of land, is that usually it means that you have to trigger the sale of an asset you're not ready to, that you wanted to pass on to family. You may have to trigger that sale to take care of you. Having a good plan, a long-term care plan, can prevent having to trigger those assets there. The second biggest threat to your nest egg is that a spouse passing away without life insurance. And really about 40% of us would feel a pinch within 6 months of a spouse passing away. And having a life insurance plan can help dip into, or help prevent you from dipping in to those retirement savings that you have out there. And especially in the state of Louisiana with the Social Security issue, if you've got a spouse that is bringing in Social Security and they pass away, losing that Social Security can be a big hit to your family household income. So it's important to know that there are some plans that are out there for you that RSEA has endorsed, some final expense whole life plans that will cover final expenses, easy to qualify for, guaranteed life policies, things like that, regardless of health conditions that are available to you as well. But again, this helps become a Social Security replacement for a deceased spouse, and that you don't have to worry about losing that monthly paycheck or that monthly Social Security check because you have life insurance that's out there for you. So that's two of the ways that if you could scramble your nest egg with having to take care of an elderly parent, whether that's you or your parent, or a spouse passing away without any type of life insurance. A medical crisis, and we had about 20% of you mentioned that medical crisis is a big concern to you. Medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcies in the United States today. And it doesn't matter if you've got great state health insurance or if you've got private health insurance, so many, or if you've got Medicare, so many of the copays, deductibles, or the out-of-pocket expenses that are not covered by medical insurance fall upon us. When it comes to cancer, heart attack, or a stroke, about 60% of that care is not covered by Medicare or any type of insurance. I'm not talking about the actual treatment of the cancer. I'm talking about the expenses related to the care after the fact. Sometimes it's copay, sometimes it's co-insurance clauses, sometimes it's travel. I live over, like I said, a little bit north of Houston. I meet people all over the country who are flying into MD Anderson Cancer Center to get taken care of. Those costs are not covered by insurance. So the travel, the hotel costs, things like that. But we're also seeing, even for those that are on state retiree plans or on Medicare, that oftentimes doctors are choosing not to participate in those networks or accept Medicare, but you won't know it until after you have a procedure and maybe the radiologist doesn't participate in Medicare and you get a balanced bill or a surprise bill that you weren't expecting out there. So again, those are some issues that could be that way. And then we have some individuals that may have retired early because of health issues, and those chronic health conditions prevent them from taking on a second job or another career after their retirement. A medical crisis can really scramble that nest egg, but fortunately, RSEA has stepped up with some options for you as well. There are policies and plans that can cover you for a lump sum if you have cancer diagnosis, a heart attack, or a stroke. We talked about that recovery plan if you have an accident where you hurt yourself and you need care afterwards, some accident plans. And then there's a MASA membership, and this is a medical air and ground services membership program that covers your ambulance rides, whether it's air ambulance, ground ambulance, airplane, anywhere in the world, or just around the corner, 100%. You don't have to worry about any bill because Medicare will pay a certain amount, or Medicare has some language where they'll say, we're not paying at all because you could have taken an Uber or a neighbor could have driven you to the hospital. You didn't need that at all. This massive program will cover that 100% for you without any concerns whatsoever. Now, the fourth one is Boomerang Children, and I don't really have an answer for this one. This scares me. I've got 3 adult children, all in their 20s in various stages of life, and I plan on retiring with my wife someday. But 52% of Boomer households that have adult children living with them, they're not fully retired. Or, excuse me, 52% of the Boomer households that don't have children live with them are fully retired, but 21% who have children move back in with them, they are only fully retired. So the chances are of Boomer children moving back home with you, Boomerang children, are great. With COVID, we saw a lot of that happening, moving back in. But that can really scramble your nest egg because you were planning expenses for other things. And now you've got someone that moved in with you. One of the possible solutions, just simply lock that door. Don't let them come back. I was doing this conversation with a group up in Oklahoma a few months ago, and I got an email that said, hey, I've told my kids that they want to come back, they've got to be my caregiver forever, or they've got to do these jobs in the household, that type of thing. So Boomerang kids can really scramble your retirement plans, but if you do it properly, maybe you've got a caregiver that can provide care for you as you go forward. And then finally, number 5, overexposure to the stock market. That is a biggie, especially as we age, because we don't have time to make up those retirement savings that you've been saving the older we get. And I'm sure there's not anybody on this call that doesn't remember the fun we went through back in 2008 when the stock market cratered. And we saw about a 50% drop. If you retired in 2008 and took out your money, all of a sudden, boom, 50% drop. Did you have time to make that back up? Fortunately, you see the stock market has gone back up, but you may have needed to draw income from that over a time period. So having a plan to protect your money as you age is vitally important, but you can't just put it in the bank because savings rates are low. And some people say, well, gosh, I'll just keep saving it up or I'll wait for the stock market to bounce back. The problem is you don't know when the stock market is going to bounce back. Now, most people look at the S&P 500 because that's the 500 largest companies, and we track that. It's a good measure of economic indicators. And you see this number right down here. This is right after the 1929 Great Depression stock market crash. All right. So if we say we were here right before it happened, at say a little over 500, you roll all the way across from 1929 and you're in the 60s now. You're 30, 40 years that you had to make up in the stock market before you got there. And then we got a high point over here in the mid 60s. It dropped. It took well into the 90s to get back to that point, as we saw as large the stagflation issue, where the stock market really didn't grow through the 60s, 70s, and 80s in there. So again, if we knew what was going to happen with this crazy stock market right now, you wouldn't see Chris and I on this call. We'd have two big boats parked side by side down in the Caribbean, and we'd be enjoying life. And Jimmy'd be out on that boat with us, and Frank and David would be casting some fishing lines. We don't know when that's going to happen. We don't know what's happening to the stock market. Can we afford at this time in your retirement years to be playing with something that could drop another 15, 20%, bounce back up? Don't know. You want to put less at risk as you get older. This is a stat that we saw back when COVID first hit. In 2 weeks, investors lost 30% of their savings. Bounced back up, thank goodness. We don't know about what happened. This is January. I took a screenshot in January when the stock market was having a pretty poor day. I don't like looking on my phone when this happens. It's bounced around up and down. A lot of money's been lost. Trillions of dollars have been lost out of our retirement savings. And do we have time to make it back up? And again, we got the effects of inflation on top of that. Gas prices are up. Fortunately, they're not as high in Louisiana and Texas as they are in other parts of the country, but food prices continue to go up. Energy prices continue to go up. CD rates and savings rates don't really go up that much. And so, is it time to, what I would call, take some of the winnings off the table? We've had a great stock market run over the past decade or so. And I kind of liken it to going to a casino, going to the Gold Nugget or LeBeur's there in Lake Charles, and having a really good run at the blackjack table. Then I start to lose a little bit. Well, my tendency is I'm going to keep playing until I get back up. What happens is I usually lose more. So I should have gone to bed, cut my losses, and gone to bed. This could be an opportunity to take some of that nest egg money off the stock market table, for lack of a better term, and put it into something that gives you liquidity and safety and potential for growth, but never have to run out of income. You never have to worry about running out of income at all. And that's a tax-deferred asset protection plan. It's endorsed by RSEA. It allows you to get the ups of the stock market, but not the downs of the stock market, and also never run out of income. So you protect part of your nest egg as you age so that you don't have to worry about a stock market gyrations, and you can sleep well at night if you've got that. Most of you, just like this little stat here on the screen says, we're not afraid of dying, but we're more afraid of outliving our money. And so because of that fear, this tax-deferred asset protection plan gives you that safety and liquidity that you don't have to worry about ever running out of money. Because once you put it in the plan and you start getting money out, it'll last until you pass away. You get all the upside potential of the stock market without any downside risk. So that way, when the stock market does drop, you don't lose a dime. If it goes up, you participate in the gains. You lock that gain in next year, no matter what the stock market does, you don't lose any of that money. So it allows you to have competitive gains as you go forward and do those things as well. The thing I like about this RSEA plan, there's no underwriting. Doesn't matter your medical condition, doesn't matter what your situation is. Again, you can put in qualified money. So any money that you have in lasers after you've retired, an old 401a plan, a 401k, an IRA, or you can put non-qualified money, a CD, some inheritance money, something like that. There are a lot of different ways that you can structure this plan, but again, you can't structure it to where you lose money. There's no way to lose money in this plan. The thing that I like most about this are the long-term care benefits. My father passed away from dementia a couple of years ago after spending 2 years in a nursing home. With his health history, it makes it difficult for me to qualify for a good long-term care plan. I'm using this tax-deferred asset protection plan as my long-term care plan because it has some benefits inside of it that allow me to draw out money when I need it without penalty if I need a long-term care, or if I'm already taking money out, it can double my payments if I need to, if I need long-term care. So there are some great options that not only protect you and your money as you need it for lifetime income and to grow it, but not lose money, but also if you have health issues that you have to take care of long-term care needs. It does the two things for you. So I really like it about that because we have to prepare for a lot more years of living. The older we get, the older we're going to get. I know that sounds kind of oxymoronic there, but once we reach age 65, there's a good chance we're going to live well into our 80s. And so you've got to prepare for the impacts of inflation, life changes, like we talked about, health or a cancer diagnosis or a spouse passing away or any type of long-term care needs or recovery even after getting out of the hospital. You've got to have more years prepared for those savings so that your nest egg doesn't get scrambled. All right. We've talked about a lot of different things. We've talked about the 5 things that protect, that can scramble your nest egg. And we've talked about ways you can save that. If you have questions, feel free to drop those into Q&A and we can answer those questions for you. I'd encourage you to grab your smartphone. So grab your smartphone, open up your camera feature and hover over that QR code. Hover over that QR code. Your camera's feature is going to pop up a little box. Press your finger on there and you can simply go down and select information that you would like to know about. If you want to know about long-term care, if you want to learn about the tax-deferred asset protection plan, if you want to just find out about the benefits of RSEA membership, just check benefits review on there. Put your information in there. Either Sam or Caitlin, one of their team members will call you back right away, send you an email, whatever you want to do. They can meet in person over Zoom, however you want to, and take care of all those questions you've got. Find out about RSEA. We've got 125 people on this call today. I'm pretty sure there's some people who are not RSEA members. This is a great time to learn about it. Caitlin and Sam and their team can help you out with that as well. If you're joining us on your phone or on your iPad and you don't have access to the camera feature, my email address is down there, jon.green, like the color, @amba.info. You can email me and I'd be glad to help you out there. So we did have a couple of questions come through here. Let's open up that there. All right, we had some questions about the RSEA tax deferred plan versus Empower, a state employee about to retire, those type of things as well. And then about the lifetime protection plan, a fiduciary plan. A couple of good questions there. It's important to make sure that you understand that the type of plans that you're going into, this RSEA tax deferred asset protection plan that's endorsed by RSEA, one, it's by an extremely strong company that's been around since the 1800s, Emeritus. They're very strongly rated. They're very conservative in their approach. There's no cost to you. So you're not paying for any fees or anything like that that go into this plan. So you're not paying commissions directly out of your money or anything like that. So they operate in a manner in which they protect your assets. The Empower money, depending upon what you want to do with that, you can keep that there. You've got that ability, or you've got the ability to move some of it over into an asset protection plan. So you've got, it's not that you one is better than the other. It's just another option. So I'd highly encourage you to scan the QR code, let someone do a quick Zoom call, phone call, and see if it makes sense for you. Because as we retire, especially the younger we are, we've got to worry about the impacts of inflation, but we don't want to get a hammer to our nest egg, for lack of a better term. So you've got to kind of layer a few things in there as you go through in the conversation there. And look at your Empower money. Some people talk about their drop money, things like that, different ways that you can do different things like that. Someone asked, is the tax deferred asset protection plan an annuity? It is a type of an annuity. That's a great question. And you'll often hear people talk about the pros and cons of annuities. There are all sorts and flavors of annuities out there. Some are annuities where you have to pay a large fee up front. Some are annuities that have very long lock-in periods and big penalties and things like that. Some are annuities that have layers and layers of fees. This is an annuity that doesn't have layers of fees in there, depending upon what type of feature that you want. And it locks in gains, but there's no losses involved. And so it allows you to get bigger than CD and just general interest rate savings gains, but you're not going to get, large savings, large gains if the stock market goes up, 50%, stuff like that. But it is in a form of an annuity. I would encourage you to find out the types. It's a fixed indexed annuity, and it can help you understand how it works and show you what the projections are and things like that as well. Some great questions that are coming in here. If you've got more questions, again, use that QR code, email me. I'd be glad to get you in contact with someone in Louisiana that is licensed to be able to help you out and understand that as well. All right, just a couple more things as we go through here. Tell your friends about RSEA. I imagine there's somebody that you know that is a retired state employee or an active state employee that's not a member of RSEA. Let them know about these educational opportunities. Let them know what Jimmy shared about what they're doing to help grow future leaders in the state, help reward those who retired from the state, and help you get those extra checks, those cost of living adjustments, those 13th checks, whatever it could be. That's what RSEA does on your behalf. So I highly encourage you to refer them over to RSEA, rseala.org, and find out how to become a member as well. So again, I ask you, you've seen the top 5 threats to your nest egg. What are you going to do to take care of that? If you've got questions, if you want to find out more, email me. Use the QR code here. We'll see if we've got any more questions that came in here. Okay. Another question came in. What about the tax benefits or penalty on the asset protection plan? Okay. The tax benefits are depending upon the type of money that you put in. If you put in a qualified money, which is money that has not yet been taxed, could be Laser's money before it comes out. It could be an IRA, 401k, 403b, something like that. It's tax deferred, meaning that that money grows in there with no taxes on it until you reach age 72 and you have to start taking out some required minimum distributions, things like that. So you're not being taxed on it. You can make it part of your tax planning, for lack of a better term, of where you pull that money from your RMDs. And then if it's non-qualified money, just the growth would be taxable in there. But again, that's why it's important to have one of our experts sit down with you and help you understand your particular situation, because this plan may not be for everyone. I don't want to say it's a one size fits all. There are certain minimum requirements, certain types of money, things like that in there. So great questions. I appreciate those coming in there. If you've got any other ones, we'll go ahead and keep it open for just another minute or so. But Jimmy, I thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with us about RSEA. Thank you, David and Frank, as well. Jimmy, anything you want to share going into the end of the year?
Well, I would just say that recently my wife does have an RA, a 601k and a 401k, and that account was losing $2,000 to $3,000 every quarter. And we started shopping around looking to see how we could protect that money. And we did buy a fixed rate annuity. It was a local thing, and it was before AMBA came out with this. So I would advise everyone to look at this very close and see if it can help you, because it really helped us to lock up our money and not lose it anyway. And we still have access to it. So it's a great deal.
Great. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Again, I'll leave this open, the QR code up there. I see several people already sending in requesting information out there. My email address is on there. I'll also leave open the Q&A even after we're done here. That way, if you have questions, I'll be glad to stay on and chat with you as well. But thank you all so very much for joining us today on our first RSEA of Louisiana educational webinar. We hope to continue to have more of these throughout next year. Have a tremendous Christmas and a great holiday season. And Jimmy, look forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you, Jimmy, David, Frank, and Chris. Everyone take care.